Yes, we are back. Knicks and Bruises. I got my special guest Tea Time in the building
Yes,
from
sir.
Knicks and Ish podcast. Please go subscribe and check out my guy. He got some nice stuff. Tea Time, thanks for joining me.
And
Knicks
thank
and
you for having
Bruises,
me.
for sure, for
Um,
sure. I stumbled upon you last night. You was going in, had a nice little rant. I didn't agree with everything you said, but you made some great points. I reached out. I
mm,
said, "Yo, come on the podcast tomorrow. We'll talk about some of that stuff."
Word. As soon as I saw the invite, I was like, I'm on it, bro. Let's make it happen.
So I appreciate that. Um, First off, introduce yourself, your podcast, where they can find you, what you've been doing. Um, and I encourage you guys to go follow and subscribe.
Uh, All right, thank you. As he said, my name is T Town from Knicks to Ish. I've been doing Knicks and Ish for maybe about 4 or 5 years now. Uh, to toot my own horn, nobody was doing live, you know, Knicks talk before I started. Okay, just throw that out there, But yeah, I did it because I didn't feel like we was getting a proper representation for our team in the media,
But yeah,
you know. And that's how I started. Is just wanting us to have the proper representation. Like nobody knows what Knicks fans go through more than Knicks fans. Like so that's exactly why I started, and I wanted to give my point of view from a Knicks fan perspective, except for having to rely on the major outlets, ESPN, Daily News, the Post, because they don't, to me, in my eyes, didn't represent us the right way. So that's how I started. You can find me on Nixon Ish on everything, like except for IG is Nixon Ish underscore, but everything else is just straight Nixon Ish. IG, Twitter, all that, YouTube. Put the spaces in between Nixon Ish. Subscribe for your boy. Holla at me.
Yes, yes, yes. Definitely subscribe. Check his channel out. He has a co-host. Tell him about the other podcast. Tell
Oh,
him about the other
all
one.
right, yeah. So every Friday, I do a podcast called Knicks versus Nets, Who Run the City, with my man Big Fan Breezy. He's a net fan, and we debate about our respective teams. It get real heated over there. It get real heated over there. There's a lot of arguments. That's my guy for real. We argue so bad you would think that I don't like him. How bad we argue, but that's my guy for real. It's unfortunate he's a net fan. But you could same thing is Who Run the City on Twitter, Facebook, KVN, Who Run the City, Instagram, Who Run the City, and YouTube, KVN, Who Run the City. Yeah, I mean, subscribe to that as well and watch me cook this guy every Friday.
No doubt. Shout out to the chat. Appreciate you guys for joining me. I see Canal, Sanga, Juan, Andrew, Karen. Appreciate you. Um, and yeah, subscribe. Hopefully, we could get you guys on tonight for the post game with nothing but Knicks. That'd be great. We could. I don't know if your boy is gonna want to get jumped by a bunch of Knicks fans at once, but he's more than welcome to join. I'll talk
Yeah.
to Sim. I'm sure he'll love it. We
Unfortunately, I think he has to work tonight, so like I don't know if he's going to be available to pull up, depending on the timing.
okay.
Because he don't get off until like I think after the game is over. So I could hit him up and ask him if he want to join and get back to you on
That'll be dope. And as always, yeah, shout out to Sim. Nothing but Knicks. He's the guy that he's the Podfather, we call him.
that.
He inspired a lot of Nick creators to
Word.
branch out and do their own thing, and supports and helps them along the way. So shout out to Sim. Shout out to the Queen Steph, my co-host on the crossover, and look out for us tonight at 6:30. A bunch of plugs going on. We're gonna do this one like the podcast originally started, Knicks and Bruises. We're gonna talk about when you became a Knicks fan, how you became a Knicks fan, all the Knicks that we dealt with, the bruises over the years, all the controversy, the turmoil, the biggest things that bothered you as a Knicks fan, and then we'll get into this current season where we are. There's been a lot of Knicks and bruises this year as well,
Absolutely.
and we weren't expecting that coming off of last year. So, um, the floor is yours. How'd you become a Knicks fan? When did you become a Knicks fan? And then
So
get into three Knicks, three bruises, and we'll start talking about some
so
current stuff.
so when I was a kid, uh, a lot of Knicks fans give me flack for this, but I won't say it anyway. When I was a kid, what introduced me to basketball was Michael Jordan. Like watching Michael Jordan play was introduced me in my passion for the game. But being a New Yorker, I always loved the Knicks. Like that was my second love from Michael Jordan. Like it was Michael Jordan. If Michael Jordan wasn't playing, it was definitely the Knicks. And when Michael Jordan retired the second time, that's when I went in all in on the Knicks. Unfortunately, a few years later, we had the Patrick Ewing situation, but that's where I started my love for the Knicks, like all the way in. I was all the way 100% in. After that, there was no other team, no other player after that, but the Knicks. Uh, so that's where my love started. Like Michael Jordan gave me the love for the game, and my passion for the Knicks started right after he retired. And unfortunately, I came in like 100% on the down end side of things. I committed a little bit too late when it comes to my passion for the Knicks. But yeah, that's how I started. So moving on to my Knicks and bruises, I think the whole Isaiah Thomas situation
Mm.
was. I don't know if you consider that a nick or a bruise. I don't know where you want to put on
It,
it.
that's on you. Me personally, it was. If you look at the entirety, it's a bruise, but it was a bunch of nicks that you know what I mean that
Yeah.
piled up in his tenure
So
that
I
made
just
it.
question because my first time here, should I start with my nicks first or my bruises? Because
I let the guests just do it their way. This
okay,
way, every episode is unique and different.
I
So you can
respect
do it
it.
any way you want. You could do Nick Bruise, Nick Bruise, Nick
Yeah.
Bruise. You
So
can do Nick Bruise, Nick Bruise. It's on you.
that was my
Floor is
first.
yours.
So that's my first bruise was the Isaiah Thomas situation. I guess like a lot of us, we had high hopes for that situation, being who he is as a basketball player. One of the 50 greatest players of all time. Like what could go wrong going to that situation? Most of us probably think like we Isaiah Thomas is running things, right? And we all know how that went. We gave away a lot of money. We had a lot of injured players.
Yes.
So that was my first bruise. I guess if we're gonna go with a Nick, I'm going to go with the way we treated Carmelo Anthony on his way out. That hurt my feelings a lot.
Mm.
Uh, and the reason why it hurt my feelings because a lot of the scrutiny that he got, I felt was unjust. Outside of that 56 win team, I can't remember the exact number.
Hmm.
Uh,
2013.
yeah, every squad after that was poop. You feel me? Pretty much poop. So that's why I feel like the scrutiny was unfair because he had absolutely nothing to work with. He went out every night and gave his best. Handled all the scrutiny and the criticism in the media with other class and held his chin up, took all the blame on his shoulders, and the way that he got booted out of New York was just atrocious in my eyes, and it hurt my feelings just a little bit because I'm still a Carmelo Anthony fan. When he on another team, if the Knicks is not in it, I'm pulling for Carmelo Anthony because what he gave us here.
Hmm.
Who didn't love the 62-point game in the Garden? You feel me? So that was a Nick for me. Another bruise, I have to go with the Phil Jackson situation. Uh, Giving that man all that money and there's a family show, so I'm gonna watch my words. You feel me? Because I was about to curse just now, I had to catch myself. So,
Appreciate it.
so, we gave him a lot of money. I think almost 3 to 4 times the amount any president of basketball operations has ever got. And again, we go a lot of optimism going into that situation. We got Phil Jackson, one of the greatest basketball minds that the sport has ever seen. What could go wrong? We know how that ended.
Me personally, with Phil, I just wanted him to coach. I felt like put him on the bench. If he's not on the bench, I don't want him.
Yeah,
And that was definitely a bruise for me too,
yeah.
for sure.
His to his coaching selection, he wanted pretty much a puppet. to do what he said when he said to do it, coach how he wanted to coach without actually having to coach. But it's hard to teach a teacher how to teach people. Like you might as well just go and teach yourself. And I think that was a major demise. And he's being my previous Nick. He's the one who destroyed the trade value for Carmelo Anthony. We didn't get nearly at what we should have got for Carmelo Anthony on the way out of the door. You know. So yeah, that was a bruise for me. Another Nick. I'm gonna go back before I was all the way into the Knicks situation. The finger roll. Like who doesn't like that still plays in my mind every so often. Like
Oh,
ah.
strong.
But in retrospect, the reason why it's downgraded to a Nick and not a bruise, if you just think about where Pat was in his career, the injuries, the knees, where he jumped from with the time that was left. He thought he could dunk the ball. And then when he got up there, he was like, oh.
Let me extend.
Oh yeah, this has to go to a finger roll. That was a definitely a part. It turned into a Nick over a bruise over the years. Like considering what I know now about his
Hmm.
physical well being.
And I would think, because as a Nick fan all the way from the beginning, you know what I mean. Like it's probably more of a bruise to some of us
Yeah,
than to you. Kind of, you know what I mean.
yeah,
Watch it from the outside, if you will, or rooting as a secondary, you know what I mean,
yeah,
team. But nah, I feel you. I feel you. That
yeah,
I never really considered that aspect of where he was in his career, his knees constantly being on ice and have to
bruh.
recover and
How'd you
everything
do
like
it
that.
to have no jump at that point in his career? Like, how many dunks did he have in that season as a center? Like, it wasn't a lot. It wasn't a lot. So, yeah. So where I'm at a bruise. What? And you know what's more of a bruise than a layup? Getting swept by the San Antonio Spurs in the finals.
Mm.
That's a bruise for me. Uh, because you couldn't tell me that the Knicks wasn't going to do it that year. Like, looking all the obstacles they overcome to get to where they were in the finals. In my mind, the Knicks are winning a championship. I don't care about the Spurs. You feel me? I don't care about the Spurs because look what we did to get where we are. Eighth seed. We were supposed to be bumped in the first round. You know, the mountains we climbed each round to get to the finals. This is just another obstacle. We're gonna win. And to get swept, not win one game. Feelings was hurt. Feelings was hurt. So that was that was a bruise for me. So I got one more Nick, right?
Yeah, one more net.
Oh man, it's so many.
how
I'm gonna have to go.
about how about go with something current with this
Yeah,
year?
and that's exactly where I was about to go. Kemba Walker is
Mhm.
a Nick for me, and just the him being a hometown guy, me having hope that he could, return to some kind of form, and to watch him go out there every night and be a shadow of himself hurts a little bit. Like it's sad to watch. It's like, it's like watching an old dog limp around in the front yard. You know his time is almost up. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and for him to be, playing like crap in this at home when you know he wants to play so well is definitely a nick, and it's hard to watch. And yeah, I could go on the days about the whole situation and the coach, but I'm gonna just leave it there.
Oh, we about to get into the coach. So it'll probably come up, and I probably agree with you on that on what you're about to say. And I agree with you about Kimba. Being a guy that kind of followed Kimba like since high school,
Yeah,
being from the Bronx, and then moving upstate, and then I remember being I was at the triple overtime game at the Garden for the I believe it's the NIT um tournament or Big East tournament, and driving back 4 hours after getting out of the game at like 1 o'clock in the morning to be to work at 7 in the morning.
Sheesh, that's
Um,
dedication right
but
there.
but being like, yo, like I mean, I didn't think it would. I didn't think the game would go to triple overtime, but it was one of the like it was well worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like how
And
you can't leave that game, bro.
nope, nope. I get there when I get there. And it took almost 40 minutes to get out of the garden at that time. Like I mean, get out of the city. But yeah, I'm a Kimba fan. I'm a fan of him as a person more,
Yeah,
and it's tough to watch him struggling. Had high hopes.
yeah, we all did. I mean, we kind of Knicks fans kind of
It was a
rejoiced when
risk
we
though.
signed him. Yeah, we
We
kind of rejoiced when we signed him. It was like, oh, Kemba's about to come and turn up. But I don't think none of us knew how bad his legs are. Like we didn't really know how bad his legs are, and it's obvious with his refusal to drive to the basket. Like he refuses.
shout out to the chat again, Tricky Nicky. I see you, Knicks. Still Knicks fans. Tay, who else? Just arrived. Kev,
Yeah, that's my co-host right there, Kev. He in the building.
appreciate
Shout
you,
out to
Kev.
Kev.
Dripmore, Andy, International Andy. I see you. Um, Thibs.
Boy,
This is where I guess I kind of disagree with a little bit of what you were saying last night, but I understand it. A
yeah,
lot of fans are with you. They think Tibbs' time is up. He needs to go. The reason, the main reason I disagree, the main reason I'm not for letting Tibbs go right now is because it's been something that we've continually done. We're hiring coaches, we're firing coaches, we're paying three coaches at one time. You
yeah,
know, because two of them are on 5-year deals and got fired within the first 2 or 3 years. It, we can't keep doing that.
yeah, absolutely.
What's going to happen, in my opinion, if we keep doing this, and this is part of the reason I think Phil Jackson came, we overpaid them to come.
Yeah,
He knew whether he finished his time here or not, he was getting money. And
facts.
a lot of people are going to come here for the money rather than for the job.
Yeah,
They're going to come here knowing that it don't matter. I'm getting paid 10 million, whatever it is, whether I'm here 1 year or whether I'm here five
yeah.
5 years. I think that has to change. Let a guy finish his tenure, finish his contract, live with the results. Do I have problems with some things that Tibbs does? Do I? Absolutely. Do I agree with everything he does? Absolutely not. But I mean, coming off the season he gave us last year, winning a Coach of the Year, um, the growth that we've seen from Randall under him, the growth that we've seen from RJ under him, the accountability that he holds the team to, but especially the young guys. To me, these are things that are reminiscent of old school mentality, um, which I like. Things that I've grew up watching and becoming accustomed to.
Yeah.
I think he does more good than bad.
So
The biggest indictment, the biggest thing, the hardest thing for me to argue against is obviously the RJ thing. That's the elephant in the
you
room.
you know that's where I was going.
That's the elephant in the room. Everybody's like, he's got to go. He runs the players into the ground. Shouldn't have RJ out there. I think the reality of it. The only thing I can say is an injury can happen at any point at any time. 2 minutes left, a minute left, 30 seconds left, 1 second into the game. It's part of the game.
So you know, I I agree with you in some aspects, like because I was a big proponent and I was preaching this in the beginning of the season when people first started saying uh we should fire Tibbs. It's like, hey, we can't keep on doing this, can't keep on changes. We need some kind of stability. What changed? What watching all inexcusable things. And what was the straw that broke the camel back was obviously the RJ thing. And it makes me reminiscent of what happened to Derrick Rose. You know, I don't want that to happen to RJ because in my mind, RJ Barrett is a future bona fide superstar. Like this kid is going to be one of the top players in the NBA at some point in his career. You know, I think RJ has one of those games that's a brick by brick game, sort of like Kawhi. Like Kawhi was a very raw product coming into the NBA, but they built his game brick by brick. And I feel that's the same way with RJ. RJ had a raw game, wasn't really good defender. Outside shooting was very weak, but we knew he was strong. NBA ready body, could get to
Mhm.
the paint, finish through contact. And what we're watching is him building out his game brick by brick. Last year, when that was his second year in the league, he outside shooting greatly improved. Now, this year we're watching him able to be able to shoot off the dribble and mix up his offense with outside shooting, getting to the basket and transition. And he's improved defensively. So all this makes me believe he's going to be a future superstar. And to watch Thibs in a span of 3 games play him 40 plus minutes, 39 minutes, and another 40-minute game and keep him out there in the last minute in 30 seconds when we're losing by 16 points, when he shouldn't even be out there and he gets injured, it was like, oh no, you were not Derrick Rose, RJ Barrett. Because who knows when the next time we're going to get a RJ Barrett. The third pick is the closest we've been to the first pick since Patrick Ewing. And before I was born was the first time we've been in that high in the draft, right? So we get a third pick, and that's the part that bothers me the most. And second of all is to watch him parade Kemba Walker out there and do the same exact thing over and over, and we lose in basketball games. Nobody would complain about him playing the veterans if we were winning and it was
Mhm.
working. But his refusal to play the young guys and not hold the veterans as accountable as he does the young guys, or not even remotely close, because that also destroys the locker room too. You got your young guys looking like, yo, you letting him mess up all game and he's getting 40 minutes plus. Then you got a guy like Obi who makes one mistake and he's back riding pine.
I think it comes with the territory, though. I think a proven guy should get more of a leash, if you will. Excuse me a second. You know, a young guy, he has to learn, he has to earn his way into having some leniency. I think that's the best way for a young guy to learn, personally.
I agree, but
Look at a guy like Knox, who had every opportunity year one, no accountability. And then when he started getting held accountable, it was a struggle for him. He couldn't find his way back into the rotation. I think when you let a young guy earn his way up, and this has been Tibbs' MO, and I think it's worked in some aspects, and some people are pushing too soon.
so when it comes to that, right? Like the Knox, Knox doesn't have game. I've always made fun of Knox for not having any NBA ready moves, like none. He goes left, right, shoot three. There's no kind of bag to his game whatsoever. You stop him going left to right, he cannot shake you. He's not super athletic, even though he's really tall. He can't dunk over you. So his game is just shooting or going left or right, getting in transition. So he's just not really a good basketball player. He just was on a really bad team and made him look better than he actually was. But my point is like with the veterans getting more leadway, how much leadway? You know, that's the problem. I agree with you that veterans do get more leadway, but how much? Because we watch, even though Evan is playing way better now, we
Hmm.
watched him play a stretch of like 10, 15 games of really bad basketball. Like it was really bad. Can't defend. Wasn't shooting. Continually making bad plays on defense. And there was no accountability for Evan. Evan was still getting 30 plus minutes a game most of the time, most nights. Ever so
I think
often,
I think I think we've seen stretches though where Tibbs held Evan accountable.
it'd
You
be like
see
one
Kimba
game, bro.
doesn't play in the fourth quarter the majority of the time. Um so I think there's accountability there. We've seen guys even dating back to last year where you seen Rivers come in, win us 2 games. 2 bad games though. He was, you know what I mean, out the rotation completely and saying out the plans actually. You know what I mean. So I think it's there in spurts. I think it's just a tough job on a coach to try to figure these things out. And when I believe him, when he believes he's putting us in a position, the best position to win games. These young guys, the guys that aren't getting the minutes, they aren't proving. The guys who are proving themselves in practice are getting the opportunity. I gotta believe that. Look at Grimes. Look at Grimes. Is Tibbs didn't just come in and put him in from the jump. He kind of earned his way into the rotation. I think everybody has to do that. Even a guy like Quickly, who had a better year last year, and I think he earned his position last year through Tibbs, and that's a credit to Tibbs of saying, hey, this guy earned his way into the rotation. This year, because Quickly has proven himself somewhat already, he's giving him more of a window. He's saying, I'm gonna still ride with this guy throughout the shooting slump. You know what I mean? He could very easily say, all right, Quickly, you don't got it right now. Let me lessen your minutes. Let me put you out the rotation. Let me open it up for, let's say, um, damn, why is he? Who's our new acquisition? What? Cam Reddish.
Yeah.
Let me open it up for Reddish because Quickly is not playing right now, or playing well right now.
So,
He hasn't done that. What he said is, Quickly, I've seen what you can do. I believe in you. Here, take the potential game winner. Last night.
which
Eh,
was crazy to me. But yo,
But that's believing in a young guy who's proven
but
something to Tibbs.
with Quickly, though he's shooting poorly, every other part of his game is running on all cylinders. You feel me? He's still playing really good defense. He's still he's not a point guard, but he's doing as well as you can ask him to do for not being a prototypical point guard for orchestrating the offense. You know, his game, aside from his shooting, is still really good. That's the only part of his game that's suffering. So I can see why Quick is still getting those kind of minutes. But there's been nights that we watch Ev go 1 for 13 and still closing out the fourth quarter. And I'm like, yo, bro, there's other options. You feel me? And you need, like, he needs, if Evan is not scoring, he's useless. He's useless if he's not scoring, right?
But I also think Tibbs has benched him in fourth quarters.
Oh,
He's benched him. You know what I mean? Like you got it is give and take. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
this is a guy who you just brought in, paid him 70 something million. You know what I mean? It's gonna be hard to completely uh get him out the rotation,
I get
especially
that
for
part.
an unproven younger guy.
I get that part, right? But you also got to give the young fellas time to prove themselves. You know, like you got Miles McBride. We a lot of Knicks fans are speaking very highly of him, myself included. First start, 15 points, nine assists, 4 steals. Then he gets no more meaningful PT. And we watch Kemba Walker come out and play like poop. I always got to because this point gets me angry, so I always got to try to catch myself. So you come out and play like poop every night, and you mean to tell me and the kid is down in the G League, absolutely scorching the G
killing,
League.
killing.
From what Coach Tommy T says, he's practicing really well as well. So what's your excuse for not giving him any meaningful PT, especially when you have a starter who's getting 20 minutes and giving you nothing on both ends of the court?
Hey, I think there comes a time, and it's very close to that time. It'll be like it's time, but I think it's gonna come. I think it's gonna come, but I think that's when the season is an absolute wash.
Well, we're
You know what I
close.
mean? We're close. We're close. We're close. You know what I mean? But I understand him. Excuse me, not going and taking that chance early in the season. You know what I mean? When you have proven veterans, you know,
Yeah. So
and I think he doesn't get enough credit for the young guys he plays. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like people, they always say play the young guys, but we talk about RJ is young, gets minutes in the rotation. Grimes earned his way into the rotation. Mitch is young. You know what I mean?
so
Like
with,
we
with the
have
whole
young guys in the rotation. Obi, maybe you could argue he needs more minutes, but you could also argue that he does it. You know what I mean? Like it's he's very limited in what he can do
with
quickly
Grimes,
in the
that's
rotation.
that him earning his minutes is kind of 50-50 because I really believe if we didn't start going through COVID and still have some of the injuries we had in the second unit,
Hmm.
that he wouldn't be getting those kind of minutes. I can honestly say if Derrick Rose was healthy and that second unit could stay intact, we would not be seeing Quentin Grimes. We would not be
That
seeing him.
that
If
that
RJ,
that that
if
could be
RJ,
true,
and
but
R,
that
but
that
one more thing, RJ Barrett, he was a third overall pick. If Thibs didn't play RJ, he probably got fired his first season. Like, what you mean? You got our third overall pick on the bench, not getting any PT? Like, so that's the problem I have. It's like, bro, like you don't play these guys until you're handcuffed. Last year with Quickly, he didn't have a bench. So Quickly had to get PT. So did Obi. Like there was no who else was he going to play off the bench in those situations? Like
I mean, the he could have went with a smaller rotation. It's not beyond Tibbs. I think Tibbs actually expanded his rotation in his tenure as a Knicks coach compared to what he's done in the past. I don't think he gets enough credit for what he's done. The minor tweaks to his game, to his coaching. He's made adjustments. It's not enough for Knicks fans, obviously, but he's made adjustments into his philosophy and what he does. And then speaking of his philosophy of you know playing hard in practice, that translating into the game. One of the biggest things, staying ready for your opportunity. That's what Grimes did. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like he may not have gotten the opportunity if it wasn't for COVID or injury, but when he got it,
yeah, he took
he
off.
made he
Yeah,
made Tibbs now have to make a tough decision when the team is whole. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Now, and to me, like now he's got to decide: do I go with Grimes, who defense is excellent, has earned his way into the rotation, has um produced when given the opportunity, or do I stick with Quickly, who's in a slump right now,
yeah,
and I've seen what he can do in the past, but and like you said, he's made strides in his facilitating, in his defense,
yeah.
in his ball handling. Like he's made strides. So I think that's where Tibbs' decision is going to go. I don't think it's going to go with a guy like a Burks who you know what I mean. He's on the team now. I think the other thing is moving these guys in the offseason to open up
Yeah,
some space. But while these guys are here, I don't think the smart thing to do is bench veterans.
I I
I
think
think it looks bad
I think he needs to stop playing.
for guys come who potentially coming to this team.
I don't
Um,
think he should bench Burks, but fourth quarter Burks should never be playing point guard. I said that last night. I'm not saying bench Burke. Burks does he plays really well and does really well is at what he's good at, which is coming off the bench and getting you buckets. You feel me? Playing solid defense and getting you buckets. Running the point is not his thing. But for some strange reason in the fourth quarter, every night we're watching fourth quarter Burke at point guard, and I'm like, bro, this is out. My thing is seeing him identifying something that's not working and veering away from it. That's another part of it for me. Like the biggest part is RJ getting injured. Because up until that point, I was still we not firing Tibbs. We shouldn't fire Tibbs. Now I just want to make that very clear. That was the biggest part of me jumping on the fire Tibbs boat.
okay.
But I was still holding on. No, we can't fire Tibbs. Once I saw RJ get injured, I'm like, get him out of here. but I was back to what I was saying about him not identifying what's not working soon enough. You know,
Mhm.
like Kemba Walker in the starting lineup. Not even saying bench him all the way. I think he would work better in the second unit, honestly.
I agree. I agree.
He shouldn't be starting, but yet we tried him out every like we was getting off to really bad starts because Tibbs' offense is heavily reliant on the ball handler being able to produce and facilitate offense and also score. That's Tibbs' offense, even from Chicago. Like that's how he coach offense, and Kemba's not giving you that. Like on a nightly basis, he might turn back the clock every here and there, but we see more games than not that Kemba goes out there and we get off to very slow starts because our
Let,
point
let me
guard play is
let,
horrible.
let me ask you this though, because you made a good point, and the only, I guess, the opposite to that would be last year with Alfred Payton. Like that, is that an outlier? Like, and we had success. So like, you know what I mean?
Elf
How did
barely
you?
played, bro. Like Elf used to
Uh,
get out there for 2 minutes and be
oh,
on the bench.
okay. And that being said, I think that should be the MO with Kemba. Don't take
I
him out the
agree.
starting lineup, but you do him like you did
Elf
Elf. And when he's not producing, and Tips has kind of done that. You know what I mean? He's been doing that a little bit more as the
as of late.
as
Yeah,
of late. Um,
yeah,
and speaking of as of late, let's go right there. Um, well, before I go there, I think one of the biggest thing that Knicks fans are not putting into the equation is the loss of Derrick Rose. Because Derrick
absolutely,
Rose would be the start, the not the start, the closing point guard. It
absolutely.
wouldn't be Burks, and that changes the dynamic of our team 100%. Um, so that's a big loss that we're not factoring in. I cannot make any argument in defending Nerlens Noel at this particular point for this season because
Yeah,
he's been absent. It's like he plays 2 games, misses 10, plays three
yo,
games, misses 15. Like I don't know. I can't even. I justified him getting the money he got based off what he did
he
for
did
us
last
last
year.
year. But at this point, if we
I,
could get whatever we can get for him coming into next year, with it being an expiring essentially, I think we have to we got to look to move on
I
for
blame
that.
the front office for the Noel situation. I don't think they did a proper job of vetting his injury because
Mm-hmm.
obviously that knee injury is way worse than advertised. You know, because it's not like it's a new injury every game. It's the same injury every. He plays 2 games, sore knee, got to miss 4 or 5 games, 6 games, whatever many amount. I think they did a hard. If a player going into contract negotiations talking about there's an injury, wait, we're gonna send you to our doctors. We have to reevaluate giving you this kind of money because that I blame that on the front office. I blame that on the front office, and you can see it in his on court play when he's actually healthy. He's not the
Mm-hmm.
same guy. Like his mobility is shot. All the thing, what made him good was the fact that he's able to recover and defend the rim at a really good rate. He can't do that anymore. Like, and to see him on the court is another sad situation. Like watching Kemba, like, and he can't catch too, and that's the thing.
Yeah, they call them feats for hands. Um,
That's an
shout
accurate assessment.
shout out to the chat. Germ Warfare, I see you. He says we should have got Kenny Atkinson's. And in hindsight, or just to go back to that time, that was the guy I wanted. I did want
Absolutely.
Kenny Atkinson, and I wanted us to really go younger. And if we were if we had him, then I would be saying yes, play all the young guys, let him develop these guys. But once we got Tibbs, I knew the
Yeah, you know what it
trajectory.
is.
It wasn't gonna be a slow moving train. You know what I mean? Like it was an express train.
Yeah,
Like he wants to win now. He wants vets. He wants guys. He doesn't have to develop as much and maybe direct rather than develop.
yeah.
But also got to give Tibbs his credit in what we've seen in the development, in the growth of RJ. I mean, even Randall quickly. Like the guys that have played have developed, and we've
Yeah,
seen them grow. So you know what I mean. He's not the guy that's gonna go play the youngest guys and try to just develop and see what they become in
yeah.
3 years. You know what I mean, over time. He wants to win now,
I get
and
that. I
and
really do get that. But it's like, okay, you tried your way already. Clearly not working.
mhm.
Like clearly not working. We have to try something else. Because if your motto was win now, your motto is not winning now. It's not winning now. You gave it a good go. You gave it a good go. Playing the vets and playing the rotations you've been playing. Speaking of his rotations, playing guys the whole third quarter drives me absolutely crazy. But whatever. You played your rotations. You playing your vets. It's not working. I That's my key problem with him. It's not.
So you would make the changes. You would make the changes now, like today, or
Uh,
or do you stay? Because to me personally, I would say like this: when we hit the 41 losses mark, that then it's a wash of a season. Develop the rest of the way.
I
That's my thinking. You know what I mean? So
I
now it
get
just
that.
comes down to like philosophies with Tibbs. Like, granted, I'm not gonna agree with everything Tibbs does, but I'm
Yeah,
gonna, you know what I mean? Just like the players kind of have to buy in
yeah.
for any type of success. I feel like, I feel
The
like I gotta
fans,
buy in too.
the
You,
fans
you know
as
what I mean?
well. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't disagree with everything that Tibbs does. You feel me? I don't. Yeah, like again, I was on the do not fire Tibbs train up until recently, but again, like if your scenario is win now, you're trying to win now, right? When do you make the alterations from what don't work to try to win now? Like that's the major problem that I'm having. Outside of the RJ situation, is that there's if you say that you want to win now, and you saying that you're going to put the best guys on the court, the guys on the court that's going to give us the best chance to win. Like, bro, how could you watch what's happening and still believe playing Kemba in the starting lineup and playing Alec Burke as a closing point guard is putting us in a position to win?
It's
Like,
it's tough. It's tough, man.
it's hard to
It's
defend that.
tough. It's tough, but I understand that it's a tough decision. It's a tough, you know what I mean? Like, because even looking at these last 7 games or so, the Knicks as a whole, the team has been playing better. Randall's been playing better. RJ's been playing better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fournier's been playing better. Like, it just hasn't translated. You know what I mean? So,
Two reasons, bro. I just stated them. Fourth quarter Burks at point guard. Slow starts from Kemba at starting point guard. I think you fix.
what's
I
I
think
mean,
you.
ultimately, the biggest problem
Yeah.
is the point guard position. No doubt about
Yeah.
it.
I think you
Does
fix those two things. We win a lot of those games. We win a lot of those games.
with whom?
Uh, Again,
Who
even though Quick is not shooting well, a lot the
you
pace that
go
he
quick?
brings, the pace that he brings in the fourth quarter, that he would bring in the fourth quarter helps Julius Randle a lot. You know, Julius will get a lot more easy baskets in transition. Alec Burke has the slowest pace of, of any point guard in the NBA right now. The slowest, number one in slowness. Kemba Walker is number two in slowness. You know, and we all know when Julius Randle is getting up and down the court, he's very hard to stop.
Better player.
Better player, super difficult to stop, and that's what we need. So you know that Alec Burke is the slowest. You know Kemba Walker is the slowest. You know your star
Hmm.
needs pace to be ultimately effective, but yet, and then you kill. Not to get off topic, but you kill him in the third quarter by playing him the whole third quarter. Like, you don't rest this guy to close out games. Like, your star is supposed to. Most coaches, going into the fourth, especially in tight games, don't put their star back into at least the 6 to 5 minute mark, and they get a rest in the third.
Mm-hmm.
But Randall plays the whole entire third, sits maybe
Mike,
3 minutes
Mike,
in the fourth,
Mike, come back in 9 minutes left.
and then they're like,
I
"Oh,
mean,
Julius Randle's not a closer. He's tired."
I agree with a lot of what you say. I can't argue it. I was one of the people that wanted quickly to start um mid season when
Yeah,
once they benched Kemba. um I wanted quickly to start rather than Burks. I did agree that Burks was probably a better option off the bench, just being that microwave scorer.
yeah,
Um I also thought that with quickly running the point, but Randall kind of being the facilitator that he's been for us, I thought it would be okay with him not being a traditional point guard. And obviously, Burks is not a point guard at all. So why even you know?
yeah.
I agree with that, but again, when sometimes you just gotta live with with the results. You know what I mean? Like Tiz been coaching a long time. I
Yeah.
have coached not one day in my life, so
I did some
I'm not
Pee-wee
gonna.
coaching. I did some Pee-wee coaching.
I'm not gonna be the one to be like, yo, I don't agree with something, but I got to rock with what his decision is. Now, when it comes down to end of the year, we got 41 losses or whatever the case. Now I'm like, all right, play all the young guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Sit the veterans. The it's senseless to not try to give these guys some type of action. But
yeah,
meaningful games, I think they got to earn their spot. They got to work their way in, and if they could break through Tibbs' rotation, that says a lot to me. You know what I mean? The fact that they broke through the rotation
yeah.
with a
So
guy like Tibbs, who's not known for letting guys in, if you will.
you asked the question earlier about would I make the swap now, today, pretty much. I wouldn't have. I would find a lesser opponent, you know, and get these guys to build up some confidence in those games versus putting them out there against. I don't know if Ben Simmons is playing today, against the Brooklyn Nets. Like, even though they don't have KD and Kyrie, that's still a pretty decent team that they're gonna put out on the floor if Ben Simmons is playing. Like,
Hmm.
I wouldn't task uh uh McBride's with, hey, you got a 6'10" point guard. You got a guard tonight. That's
Lock
not
them up.
yeah, I wouldn't do that. No, but there's definitely a way that you could have integrated these guys into the rotation or give them more of a shot. It has to be a little bit more of a rope for your young guys than just, hey, you made a mistake. Sit down. One mistake. Sit down. Like that. That's no way to build confidence. I think Miles McBride, he did actually get some more meaningful PT after, you know, um, he started,
Started.
but it was more of, you can tell he's playing, trying not to make a mistake versus playing, you know,
Hmm.
and you see it at a lot with Obi. He plays trying not to make a mistake versus just playing basketball. So holding them accountable up until a point is like, it could be good, but it also could be at their detriment because you want to stay on the court. So now you're playing tentative. You don't want to shoot.
My
You're
my
unsure of your rotations. Like,
my only pushback to that is that's up to the player to kind of figure out how to play free. That's not up to the coach. You know what I mean?
yeah,
The
yeah,
player has to make that adjustment, and once you do, what that does for your career is way bigger than just giving the freedom to go out there and play through mistakes. Like that's the mental thing that you gotta figure out yourself. Play your
yeah,
game. Be yourself. Don't worry about mistakes because that stuff is out of your control. You know what I mean?
yeah,
The only thing you can control is how you perform on the floor. It's a mental thing to me.
yeah,
So once you break that barrier of, oh man, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to, I don't want to
yeah,
miss this open shot. When you break through that and you're not thinking about that at all, and you're just playing, that's when you become your best self.
I agree.
So that's why I give Thibs the credit for doing that, because like it develops mental toughness.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And if you don't develop that, to me, that's on you. Like, that's not on me as the coach. You got
yeah,
to figure that out yourself. You know what I mean? So, but I get the argument. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah,
because if you're not mentally tough, then yeah, that can break you. That could break you fast. You know what I
yeah,
mean? That,
yeah.
but if
I
you're not
agree.
mental tough, do I really want you? Do I really want you?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I get it.
That was the point I was trying to make with a Knox. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
as the example, like,
he wasn't mentally tough. That's what you said. And his game was trash. Is me personally. I just think I always made fun of him for not having any moves, bro. Like, how you an NBA player and you have no moves? Like, no Euro step. You never seen him even do a Euro step, bro. Like, nothing. Like, going to the basket full speed, no Euro. Yeah, I just made fun of Knox because he didn't have no game, bro. Like, I'm sorry, he could shoot, but other than that, it's like, bro, what else do you do?
I was a Knoxer, but I'm not gonna get into the Knox debate with you. I've had so many Knox debates over the years, and he's not a Nick anymore. So, you
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
I mean. But I've heard it all. You
yeah,
know, and I hope he does well and develops.
yeah,
So, at least has a long NBA career.
yeah.
Whatever,
But
however it turns out.
back to what we said, like with Obi's situation, I think Obi is in a situation, especially you talk about mental toughness. He's in a situation where it kind of feels like damn if you do, damn if you don't. I play well, I sit. I, I make a mistake, I sit. Like, what do I do to crack the rotation? It's when it's obvious there's nothing that he can do because Coach Tibbs is going to play Julius Randle 38, 37 minutes a game. That's just what it is. Julius is getting those minutes, which I think is to a detriment of the team.
Hmm.
Like, you have to lower Julius Randle's minutes. Like, you have to, just for the sake of in-game rest. So when those moments where you need Julius Randle to be the superstar that you want him to be, he has the legs underneath and a mental clarity to make the right decisions. Last game, most 4 of his 7 turnovers came in the fourth quarter in overtime. You as a basketball, if you played basketball, you know when you're tired, you do dumb things. You do dumb things. You feel me? And I feel like a lot of the cases, not all of the cases, because Julius start the game off sometimes with 5 straight turnovers. But in that specific case, I think that's tiredness. And not having a mental clarity to execute or attack the way that you were attacking all game. I know Julius Randle knows that these young boys can't stop me. You saw it in the way that he played. But in the fourth quarter and overtime, if you ain't got the energy nor the legs, you got to find a way to rest Julius in game. Same thing with RJ. You can't run these guys the whole entire third quarter, most of the fourth quarter, expect them to be able to close out tight games at maximum efficiency. It just doesn't make sense. I understand Tibbs like to say if you're in shape, you could play your game, but these guys are human.
Hey, I agree. I agree, and I put some onus on the player as well, because there's no reason you can't ask for a breather. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, so I think that's something that, every player. If you ask the player, most of the time they don't want to come out anyway. It's a catch-22. You know what I mean? But if
how,
you're tired, I
how
think
many
you need to.
NBA players you see axed out of a game because of tiredness? Like
I mean, for a breather, it's happened, and the real ones, you respect it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So, but sometimes some players will, some players won't. I do think some of that responsibility, especially if you're tired, like you
yeah.
physically, like this times the coach might see that you're tired and you may not want to come out, and you know what I mean. So it goes both
But I
ways.
think it's the coach's job to mitigate that because
I agree.
a
I
hooper is going to be like, nah, I'm not tired.
I
Your
agree.
job as the coach is to be like, no, you're tired.
I agree. But shouldn't it go on what happens if it's reverse? if a player puts his, let me get a breather, and the coach is like, nah, you good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't agree with that, right?
But in sense, he's honestly is pretty much the same thing as knowing that he needs a breather and being like, he didn't ask me, so I'm not going to take him out. And I feel like that's what's happening with Thibs. I get what you're saying. The owner should be on the player too. I agree, but I think the way that weighs out who
Mm-hmm.
has the most onus on that
Onus.
is definitely the coach. I'm not saying you're wrong. That the player should be like, hey, this is for the betterment of the team. I need to catch a breather. But the onus is more on the coach as the person who's in charge of the substitutions. Like you are in charge of the game plan and putting the team in the best position to win. To see your players gassed and be like, we need you out there right now. It's like, bro, we need him to close games. This is why most coaches, no matter what's happening in the game, will take their star out in the beginning of that fourth quarter and not put him back in until the 6 to 5 minute mark, depending on what's happening. Because they know no matter what's happening in the game, we're going to make a run, whether it is to close the door or get back in the game around that part. And Thibs continuously doesn't do that. And he plays them the whole third quarter, bro. Every game. Every game. The whole third quarter. I'm like, bro, these guys need a break. You know, Thibs, and I just want to make it clear. I don't think everything Thibs do is wrong. I agree with you on a lot of your points that you make in you know, protest for Thibs. But I just think that at this point, the evidence is overwhelming. I think there's too much talent, even with the injuries on this team, for us to still be losing the games the way that we're losing these games. And a lot of that onus falls on him.
I agree that we see. I'm halfway. I don't. I think it falls on the players more than him. I think like these last two losses, you blame Tibbs for that.
Absolutely, all day in America.
Mm,
There's
mm.
again, we my revisit my previous argument about being tired. I think if Julius Randle had the proper rest, he closes out that game well. Revisit my argument about Alec Burke. Like, how many times do you have to see our fourth quarter offense come to a halt because we don't have pace or a proper facilitator on the floor? You know, that's coaching. You know, like you could tell players to figure it out, but if the player doesn't have the tools to be who you need him to be every night, then who fault is that? That's not the player's fault. That's the coaching fault. Like just because a play, the line I like to use is just because a player could do something some of the times doesn't mean he should do it all the time. Like Alec Burke could give you good point guard minutes when you need it in a pinch,
In
but that
spurts,
doesn't,
yeah.
yeah, that doesn't mean that he should be closing the fourth quarter. Like I love Taj to death. You
Even,
feel me?
even
I want Taj to retire a Knick. But I
here's
don't think
where
he should be playing center against 7-footers.
here's where I agree with you in a sense because I wouldn't mind Burks closing out the game at the point if he's only closing out the game at the point. So I like that because the spurts he's done it for us. He's won games for us, not this year, last year, but it was a stretch last year where we was like, oh, I think we found our closer.
But Tony, he wasn't
You know
running
what I mean?
point. He wasn't running point, Tony.
I'm pretty sure it
We,
was before we got Derrick Rose.
we were losing a lot of games at that point. I think when
He
we found our closer, it was more when Derrick Rose came, and him and Derrick Rose were getting busy in the fourth.
but prior to Rose, he had a stretch. I want to say
Yeah.
like a 3 game stretch.
But I don't think he was running the point then neither because we
Who
had we had Elf. Elf was still getting
Elf
a lot of PT.
Elf
Uh,
wasn't closing
and
games.
who we had somebody else running point,
I'm
but
telling you,
it
Burks.
wasn't AB.
He had his stint at point guard with us last year. I promise you. I promise you.
Oh man, I don't remember that, man.
It, the difference was it was the closeout games. It
Yeah,
was before Derrick Rose.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't remember it, man.
I guarantee. So I think that's what because I said it earlier this year. I'm like I don't mind him playing a point down the stretch. and this obviously this is if Rose is not playing. If Rose is playing, I want Rose there. You know what I mean? But in this particular circumstances, I wouldn't mind it if it was only down the stretch. The
But
fact that he's
so
doing it,
another reason why that worked too. We were a different team defensively last year. We didn't need to play with any kind of pace because we were locking people down. We missed 4 shots in a row. So what? You're not scoring. You're not scoring, and we're not that team, especially with Fournier on the court. Though Fournier's been stepping up defensively, getting the passing lanes, he's not a good individual defender, even when he's stealing the ball. Like so, with that kind of chink in our armor defensively, and we're not playing with any kind of pace, Alec Burke doesn't work in a point guard situation. We need to play with pace so we can get easy offense, so we can keep pace with opposing teams. Like that's where the mishap is happening, is that we can't keep pace with opposing teams because our defense is different this year. We were getting a lot more stops in the fourth quarter. We were shutting teams down in the fourth quarter. Like they weren't scoring on us in the fourth. Like that's why we were the comeback kids, because we were putting the clamps on teams, and that's not the same case this year. I mean, last game we did have a good fourth quarter defensively, but we couldn't score worth nothing.
I think that's the biggest difference. I think somehow we still have these offensive scoring droughts
Yeah.
with better offensive players. You know, put quotes up this year. It's tough.
The ball
Um,
movement halts, and that's the biggest thing. Pace and
in the
ball
fourth,
movement halts.
in the
Yeah,
fourth, especially as of you know what I mean. Like it's been great for the first 3 quarters, and then fourth quarter is like slow it down. No
yeah.
ball movement, no pace, 1-on-1 ISO.
And if I
That's
see, and if I see
that's been
Alec Burke,
killing us.
go 1-on-1 and search for contact and chop up a wild mid range shot again in the fourth quarter, I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm gonna
You
lose
know,
my mind.
you know what's even more crazy about that though. Like I agree with you because it looks horrible when it misses, but that's kind of his thing. Like he
When
be
it goes
getting
in, you be
and ones. Like he,
be in the crib like let's go.
you be like, yo, how he got that shot up, and it went in. And then when it missed that joint, like, yo, what are you doing? Like you just threw it up there, and
But
somehow,
there's a time to do it. It is a time not to do it. You can't do it every play because the ref is not going to call a foul for you every
yeah,
play.
not not
That's
not you. You know what I mean? If
no
you're LeBron, they might. If you
James
Kawhi, you know what I
Harden,
mean? Yeah, you know what I mean.
Kyrie
But not
Irving,
you.
KD. No, they don't even give KD that kind of love, And even though he's a net, KD don't even get that kind of love where he go down the court every time. They let people beat KD up. Is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But yeah, like if you're James Harden, Kyrie, those LeBron, you're gonna get those calls. AB, you're not that guy. You know, you're not that guy. You got to pick and choose, and everything is not a one-on-one situation in the fourth quarter. And AB doesn't realize that. He puts on the blinders in the fourth quarter, and he's just trying to do it by himself. There's no reason why, you know, with the game that Fournier have, we not running the game through Fournier in the late stages. We're not running the game through Quentin with the shooting exhibition he put on that last game. Uh, Even Julius should be in more pick and roll situations going towards the rim in those late game situations. But the offense stagnates and we go 1-on-1. I don't want to see Julius 1-on-1 in the fourth quarter. I don't want to see it. I want to see him pick and roll action, us getting him to his spots, going towards the hoop, so he either get fouled or muscle up against somebody going to the rim.
No doubt, no doubt. A couple things before we get out of here. Your thoughts on Mitchell Robinson long term?
We
Pay him
pay him,
or okay?
pay him. I think we'll be absolutely foolish to let Mitchell Robinson go. I know there's knocks on him on his ability to stay healthy, but when he's been injured this year, it's been for 1 game, 2 games versus missing.
Noel time.
Exactly. I think the weight that he put on helped his body as far as resiliency. I think we're literally just scratching the surface of what Mitchell Robinson is going to be. Wait till he get a point guard. Wait till he get a point guard. Mitchell Robinson with a point guard. We're talking about Clint Capella. maybe even better than that guy. You feel me? I think he can surpass what Clinton Capella was at his height, just off of sheer athleticism, length, his defensive presence. Like his footwork on the defensive end is amazing. Uh, lose Mitchell Robinson, I'm going to be deflated. like, and I
So
want to tell the Knicks fans,
you
don't listen
wouldn't
to the media, man.
you wouldn't mind extending him now? Get it out the way
Absolutely,
now, right? Okay,
yes, yes. I wouldn't
because
even,
that's where I stand. You know, one of my slogans is "Pay that man," and it's specifically to Mitch.
yeah, pay that man because we just scratching the surface. We just scratching the surface. Uh, I don't even want to play around with the free agency market with that kid, like because somebody going to outprice us.
Hmm.
Somebody going to outprice us. Uh, give him his money. I think he wants to continue to be a Knick. I think the media is trying to make it to seem like he's disgruntled and want to leave. Mitchell Robinson is just a laissez-faire kind of guy and just go with the flow. I really
Hmm.
believe he means I don't want to think about it. I just want to hoop because that's just the kind of person he is. I think he enjoys being a Knick. Uh, let's get the deal done. Like, why waste time? I think
I
he's going to
agree.
be our center for years to come. Like this kid is a monster waiting to happen. Once we get a point guard, I'm telling
I
you,
agree.
once we get a
And
point guard, it's over.
that's the problem, though. It's not just Mitch. I think the team, once we get a point guard, you can say Mitch, you can say Obi, you can say Randall, because he don't get easy shots.
Yep.
Like we need somebody to get him some easy shots. I mean, you could literally say it about every player on our team.
Evan,
Once we get
RJ,
a point guard, once
Evan,
we get a point
RJ,
guard,
everybody, bro. Evan, RJ, quickly because quickly is not a point. When quickly goes back to running
yeah,
more
it
off
opens it
ball
up for him too.
and not have to worry about his mind is not thinking about facilitating for others and just more of, hey, take the open shot when I'm open. I think we watch him play better. Like everybody, like Derrick Rose is literally the key to this team. It's crazy. I think when he comes back and he gets his win back, you're going to see a drastic turnaround in his team, especially when it comes to closing out games and the fourth quarter offense, because that's the big, stigma now. Before it was the early starts, the slow third quarters. We remedied both of those things. Now we're stuck on slow fourth quarter offense, and Derrick Rose is the key to that. But if we have another point guard, can I ask you a question before the buyout?
Absolutely.
The
I'm
buyout
I'm not
market.
on the time restricted, so I'm
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
we're
The,
good.
the buyout market. There's a few point guards out there. Would you mind? Because the buyout market, we're gonna get everybody for discount,
Hmm.
99-cent store prices. Is there anybody you will mind bringing in?
Mind?
Yeah, mind. Because nobody's
I
ideal for the team, but
there's nobody I would mind bringing in because at this point I'm for try anything. Try excuse me,
yeah.
try something. Um I don't who's on the buyout market
So
cuz
there's a lot of rumors. There's nobody out there.
John Wall,
Yeah, he's out
I
there.
say yes.
Yeah, me too.
I
I
say
think.
yes.
What do you lose at this point? You
I
sign
made
him
an
for the rest of the
argument
year.
to trade for him, honestly. That's how you know what I mean. Not saying I was like this we got to do it, but
Yeah,
I wouldn't have mind moving some of the vets,
yeah,
getting John Wall in and opening some space for the Cams, the Grimes, you know what I mean, like
yeah.
even if it took one of Obi or quickly, like I was for it. You know what I mean? If it happened, I wasn't pushing it. I didn't think it was crazy to do though.
The only thing
So
with the trade for John Wall is his
but
contract. I think he still got some years on that contract. This is why
I, I
the
want to say it's next year's his last year.
yeah, I wouldn't even take his contract for 2 years.
Yeah, I think next year is the last year though.
And I
So
think that's where a lot of teams. That's why it wasn't no trade offers for him because nobody
hmm.
wanted to take that next year of his contract. In the buyout market, absolutely all day in
Oh
America,
yeah,
we could sign him for the rest of the year. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, we move on. Uh, but John Wall is absolutely on the top of my. If it's not something that we have to do, I'm not saying that we need to do this, but if we're going to visit the buyout market, I would absolutely get John Wall for bargain prices because you want to pay him the veteran minimum. Like, what do you lose? at this point. At this point of the season, you're under 500. The season is on the verge of going down the drain.
The
What
only
hurts?
the only kind of problem with it is we still have Kimba and we still have him for another year. So do are we buying him out? Which I'm not opposed to,
Yeah,
but I
I
don't
think.
think we can. I don't think we can have them both and Rose. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think. I
And the
think.
young
No,
guys.
I think it's time for. I hate to say it because I have tremendous respect for Kemba Walker and his career and what he's done, but he's not that guy anymore. And he's not the guy that we need him to be to have success. And at the end of the day, this is a business, and the business is winning. You feel me?
No doubt.
So,
Is any other guard any other buyout options that you were referring
um,
to, or you was
yeah,
mainly focusing on
I
Wall?
like Kemba, but I wouldn't mind in a buyout market situation, Dragic, because again, what do you have to lose at this point in
Hmm.
the season? I wouldn't trade for neither one of these guys,
Yeah,
but to get them at pennies on a dollar, like, hey, if we get him, he doesn't work out, we sit him on the bench because why?
Here,
We're not losing anything.
here's the only reason why I wouldn't. I probably would stay away from the buyout market. Like I'm not mad at doing if they do it,
Yeah,
but me personally, I probably stay away. But here's why: because I think if you bring in either one of those guys, they're not signing for the remainder of the season. They're signing for at least next year as well.
oh, for
So
real.
I think I don't think they're gonna sign just for the remainder
No,
of the season. If they're
no,
gonna do that, they're gonna sign with a contender, a legit contender.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
it depends. It depends on what the suitors are. I'm just saying I wouldn't sign them past this year if we could get them for that. You feel
Yeah,
me? Like,
yeah. I don't
yeah,
think that's an option. Think
yeah,
about it. Like if you're Wall or you're Dragic and you're just signing for the remainder of the season, why are you coming to the Knicks?
yeah. I could get that.
You know what I mean? You're gonna want to go with a legit contender or a possible contender, which at this point we are not. You know what I mean? We're not even in the play in at this point. The only reason you sign with the Knicks is if they're giving you this year, next year, minimal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're probably gonna want a third, if that.
So
So that's why I'm staying away because I think we got to look for something long term.
in the case of John Wall, I can't. I don't. I'm thinking about the contenders, and he's a point guard. There's not a contender that I know that needs a point guard. Like, I think most of the contenders are solid at the point guard position at this point. Like
At
that's
the
the,
at the starting point,
yeah,
you know what I mean. But to bring to like
yeah. You're right.
if you're getting John Wall and you know what I
You
mean, and he could potentially come off your bench and you know what I mean, like
or he might just go
it,
to like Darren said in the comments. He might just go to the Lakers.
yeah,
That would
that's
be
what I
his.
mean.
That might be his best bet, honestly.
And he might not even have to go off the bench on the
That's a
leg
fact. He can
on the
start there. He can
leg.
start there. Word.
So that's the only reason why I wouldn't go that route because I don't think any of these guys will be a long term option, and I think if you signing them, you at least signing them for 2 seasons. You know what I mean? The remainder of this one and next year. But that being said, long term point guards, who you looking at?
Oh man,
Um, and how do we get them?
long time. I really wanted that kid from Dallas, but they're not about.
Brunson,
Yeah, they're not about to get that kid up. Mark Cuban said just as much.
but he's not restricted.
Yeah, I think they're
He's
gonna.
unrestricted, right?
Yeah, I think they're gonna. The choice is his, but
Yeah.
I know Cuban the way he spoke about him. He's going to make a strong play to keep him. But if we could get him, I like him because
Okay.
we don't need a point guard that's a star. We need a steady point guard, somebody that could give you the number that Bronson gives you: 15 points a game, about 6 assists a game. That's what we need. We need somebody that could get his little bit of offense and also could facilitate the offense, play with a nice pace, because that's what we need. Because if you get a star, think about it. Now you got to share the ball between Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, and Evan, because Evan needs his shots too. And
You need a low maintenance guy.
when I think Bronson, he's young enough, he plays well enough to fill that role. So if that's my choice, I don't want a De'Aaron Fox like most Knicks fans was calling for. I don't want a guy that no. I and he plays decent defense, Bronson. Like he plays decent defense. So that's the kind of guy I want. Like that's the first guy that jumps out the mind.
Are you? What's your thoughts of making a move for Brogdon in the offseason?
Brogdon.
Malcolm Brogdon.
Yeah, I
Decent.
know who he is. I'm just trying to.
To me,
He's a free agent. He a
no,
free agent.
he's a long term contract, but it seems as though the Pacers are moving in a different direction with the moves that they've been
Yeah,
making, and he wasn't eligible to be traded until probably like in a couple days, which essentially means
yeah.
the off
Bro-
season because of the trade
Brogdon,
deadline.
Brogdon,
His extension kicks in next year, I believe. So it would
he
be
signed a pretty pricey contract, yeah.
he did he did.
And I could not imagine us not giving up a lot for him. Like more than we should. You know, uh, and that's what I'm not willing to do. I've learned my lesson from years past with the Knicks, and chasing things via trade. Uh, it never really works out for our favor. Uh, and you know, a lot of Knicks fans think that making a trade is a magic wand to fixing your team, and don't really realize what you have to get up to give up to give something of worth. Most of the time, because I really feel like we fleeced Detroit and the Hawks to get Rose and Cam, but that's very rare. You don't see things happen like that on a consistent basis. Uh, Look at what Philly had to give up to get Harden. Like it's very rare.
I think I think the only difference with him is he's not necessarily a big time name. Like
Yeah,
he has a good reputation as a good solid player. Someone in the chat mentioned, "Oh, your guy too injury prone," which is a fact.
yeah,
He is pretty, pretty injury prone. Nothing severe, but he always seems to miss,
yeah.
a good 20 games or so every year. I and I'm not pushing for him. I wouldn't mind it either way. I think he's comparable to Brunson, a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit older, but also a little bit more proven. Um, I like Brunson as well. I'm just trying to throw out some names. If like you said, if Brunson's unavailable, we gotta do something. So
Something has to
what
happen.
what else is out there?
Yeah.
Um,
I,
how
I
you feel
really,
about the kid from San Antonio, Murray? and and
man,
and
listen.
and it's gonna take a haul to get him as well.
Man,
So
listen, if we get a guy Murray for a reasonable price, there's not much I wouldn't give up for Murray at this point, except for, like the main core people. I'm starting to disconnect myself with Obi being the fact that he's not getting a lot of PT. I can't see him being here for the long haul with the way he's being used. But I know he's definitely going to garnish a lot of interest via trade in trade talks. So I'm kind of emotionally detaching myself from Obi at this point because I can't see him staying here for the long haul, just because he's not getting a lot of PT. So this like Obi, I'm not when we talk about Murray, I'm talking about I'm willing to give up Obi. I'm willing to give up Quick in a package for that kid. Like some
Obi, Obi, quickly and two
and,
picks,
and
two
some picks.
first.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, all day in America. You know why? Because that boy Murray can ball.
I agree too. I agree too.
But
Um,
I'm not messing with Robinson. Nobody's touching Mitchell Robinson, son.
pay that man.
Detroit, get out of here, son. You're not getting him.
Unless y'all giving up K, huh?
Word. That's a
Huh?
fact. You give it up, K. That we can do that. But other than that, get out of here.
uh, your guy Cav says, "How about D Mitch?
Same scenarios. Not much I won't give up for that guy. Not much I won't give up, except for the core people. If we're
Do you
building around Julius and RJ, obviously they untouchable. Mitchell, obviously untouchable. But everybody else,
do you think he could essentially run point guard position.
Mitchell.
Donovan, yeah.
Yes, I don't think there's nothing that that guy can't do on the court. You
I
know,
mean, or a better question: do you think that hinders his scoring by putting him? Because I
when
think
you
that's why they kind of made the switch of moving him to the two, just so he could focus on
scoring,
on scoring rather than trying to.
I think when you got to play
And
it
it worked both ways, but you know what I
yeah,
mean. It
I
worked
think when
when
you
he was
got
at the
a
point.
point guard that's that aggressive, you know, and just downhill, it just works itself out most of the time, you know, because naturally he's that good that he's just going to like. That's why I worked for Russell Westbrook as long as it did, right? Because he's that aggressive that he garnished so much attention going to the basket. His playmaking opens up because you have to figure out a way to stop him. And I feel like it's the same thing for Mitchell. Him running a pick and roll with Julius Randle it'll probably be one of the scariest things that the NBA has ever seen. Like both of those guys going downhill towards the rim on a pick and roll situation. What do? Nothing. Get scored on. That's what happens. So I think that he could. I think he could actually. Yes.
How about three picks? Now he's
No.
saying they not doing that. Basically, saying
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not enough.
Yeah. I'm saying it's not much. We got a lot of picks, man. We got a lot of second rounders. We could couple the first rounder with a whole bunch of second rounders. We could give those two guys. I'm not opposing to throwing in another player because that guy
I
is
agree.
like is
Whatever
what
it takes.
except for RJ Barrett, Julius
Julius
Randle,
Randle,
and Mitchell
Mitchell
Robinson.
Robinson.
Other than that,
Oh,
blank check, son. Blank check, son. Send that guy over. He's super young, upside through the roof. Yeah, what you want, except for those guys.
put Evan in there. I'll do it. I throw Evan in there easy.
Again, I
Whenever
said
you
my
want.
three untouchables. Other than that, the floor is yours. Write the check, bro.
I'm just
Oh,
reading
and
the check.
Quentin. Quentin is off the table too. We're not trading Quentin.
I wouldn't want to, but I throw him in if that's what it took. He's in there too.
I think Quentin has the possibility, like the potential wise, to be like the next Clay, bro. Like like the next Clay. That's what it's looking like for this kid. Being able to put up a lot of points with no dribbles, with no dribbles. Like,
I said
like
that on the other channel and got killed on it. So be careful out there.
bro, they bugging. What are they watching? That like what are they?
And I said Clay Light, LIT. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I
I
said
agree.
light, and they
Clay
was
Light
like,
because Clay Thompson is one of the greatest shooters the NBA has ever seen. I'm not saying that he's going to be one of the greatest shooters the NBA has ever seen. I'm just saying, yeah, like you said, Clay Light, like somebody of that nature, knockdown 3-point shooter and tremendous defender. We definitely keep it ground. That's why I'm saying he's untouchable to me as well. Because again, I feel like we only scratched the surface of how good
mm-hmm.
he's going to be. His work ethic is talked about like tremendously through the players and the coaching staff. So you know he's only going to get better. Like I think if he got more shots in a game, we'd be looking at a kid that's probably averaging about 15 points a game if he was getting the time and the shots. Like just off his ability to shoot the 3-point shot alone. But that's why I say he's untouchable. And his defense is only going to get better when he start learning the nuances of defending players in the NBA. He's this
Yeah.
good without even knowing the nuances of defending guys, learning how to push them in positions where, like what the elite defenders do. I want you to take a shot here, so this is where I'm going to push you to. He's just out there for pure effort and instinct right now and doing a really good job. So that's why I say he's untouchable along with I think that's a starting five. You already got 4 of your starting five. You got Quentin
Mitchell, Quentin, RJ. That's the five. Randall
and if we could get Murray, that's what I said. Blank check. I like that starting five. That starting five is going to win a lot of games just off of them alone. You know, and then you keep D Rose as your bench guy because D Rose ain't going nowhere. Coach Tommy Q is not separating with D Rose. That's just not happening.
only place he moves to is Chicago, I believe.
Yeah, to retire. But I think him and Tim's relationship, I don't think D Rose want to go anywhere that Coach Tommy T is not coaching.
JJ said, would you have traded RJ for Halliburton?
No,
Hell no.
no,
Hell no.
no. Have you
Uh,
watched RJ Barrett play basketball recently, bro? I know that JJ's my guy. That's my guy. He's an avid supporter of Knicks and Ish. Yeah, I mean he's part of the Knicks and Ish family. You know,
salute.
I know you watch RJ Barrett, JJ. You know better than
And
that.
then Marvin says Reggie Jackson would be perfect.
Yeah.
He's short term, but I'd take him.
When we get off live, you got to show me how to do that, bro. How you put the comments on the screen. You
Oh,
got to,
do
you got to.
StreamYard. You just tap the comment.
A word,
Yeah.
because I use StreamYard too. I just never
Okay.
knew how
Yeah.
to do that.
Just tap the comment and it'll pop right up
Oh
on there.
snap! We done changed the game. Appreciate you, Tony.
No, that's a fact. Actually, when we get off, I got some questions for you too. So
All
you know
right,
what I
all
mean.
good. Yeah.
That's a fact. Um, 2 years, 10 million. He says 2 years, 10 million. I don't know if he'll fit. He'll fit guys. We still talking about Reggie.
We talking about Reggie. Reggie absolutely fit this team. 2 years,
I
10 million.
mean,
That's no money in this market.
yeah, I do it. I do it. A lot of people are down on Reggie, but I think that dude he a dog. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? He a dog.
and he has his moments where he could take over a game, and I'm not opposed to having that. Again, he's a steady guard. He's gonna give you 15 to 18. He could defend. He could pass. Like, yeah, yeah, I'll take that risk.
Nobody has asked for him.
Because
Um,
I don't think people think it's a reality. I don't think people think that is a possibility. I didn't realize that it could possibly be a possibility until you just mentioned it. Like,
JJ also asked, who you guys want in the lottery. I'll be honest, I haven't even followed college basketball. That is how much of I was looking forward to this next season. You know what I mean? I was like, yo, we don't even gotta look at the draft. And I trust my front office drafting skills. So I'm like,
facts,
you know what I mean? Like I'll let them handle that. Now I
facts.
kind of wish I did take a peek because it's looking like we're gonna have a lot higher pick than initially um I
You,
thought.
yeah,
But I also think don't I don't believe we're going with a rookie point guard or a rookie. I think those picks are going to be flipped somehow.
yeah, I think so too. I think so too. Absolutely. And I agree with you. I haven't really been paying attention to college basketball this season because I came in this. I, I've got several. I got a bet saying that we was gonna be between 3 and 5 in standings by the end of the
Seed.
season. Yeah, yeah.
Whew,
That's how much confidence I had
whew.
going into this season that we were going to be really good. And obviously I'm losing that bet, right? So I didn't look at who's coming out of the draft. I don't know, and I still have tremendous confidence in our front office drafting skills because I think they did an amazing job. I still think Jericho Sims needs some PT because I think what I've seen when he's on the court is like we might be on to something
Hmm.
here. We might. He needs to get all Noel's minutes.
one thing I agree. I think he needs more minutes. I think he's a guy that's not that great of a defender, but I think with playing time, his defense will get better. I think that's one of the guys that I feel like he will get better
Yeah,
just with more playing time and learning his opponents.
yeah, yeah. Yo, I
But
see,
I like what he can give you offensively, and he's strong. You know what I
bruh.
mean? Even though he's not a great defender, he's not gonna get bullied out there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like he might make some mental mistakes, might
Yeah,
get spun off or use
yeah,
veteran savvy against.
yeah. Rookie
But
mistakes.
yeah, as far as like he's just solid, man.
Yeah.
Solid.
I but I will say this from watching him in the summer league to as a defender to what I see now, there's a, a big difference. Like you can just see, and just in his positioning on the court, especially on help defense situations, he always seemed to be in the right place. But like you said, he gets beat by, the rookie mistakes, a spin move, a little, hesitation that
Hmm.
he's not accustomed to at this level. But as far as being at the right place at the right time, he's usually there,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm like, oh, we got to play this guy, especially when you're looking at Noel. You probably end up moving Noel in the off season. Stop putting him out there to look like a bum and kill his trade value. It's all likelihood Noel is going to be gone this offseason. Stop putting him out there to look like a bum. Like, because that's what's happening. He's getting out there and looking really bad. And for the money he got, people are like, he barely plays. And when he's out there, he's looking like he can't move.
The
Play
good
this
thing
kid.
is, it's still backup money. You know what I mean? It's not even like starters money.
Yeah,
So I feel like he's a movable piece still. You know what I mean? Especially coming into next year when it essentially is an expiring contract. So I think he's gets moved, and I don't think it's a hard piece to move.
yeah. But if we going to move him, if that's the plan, I think Jericho Simmons need to get more of that PT. Like,
Well, essentially, I think he has to. I think that money that we save, hopefully, you gotta throw that to Mitch. You gotta pay him.
yeah,
But I agree, and lower Taj's minutes.
yes.
Yeah.
Taj is not a center. Like people need to realize that he plays the five, but he's not a center. Taj is a power forward. He's 6'9". He go most centers outweigh him, got him on height, and Taj is good against small ball lineups. He's going to eat. I do not mind seeing Taj out there on the court when we're playing a team that's going small ball. Taj is going to eat. He's going to get those offensive rebounds. He's going to make those great defensive plays. But when he has to guard a prototypical five, he is lunch meat out there. He gets worked. he gets
and it,
worked.
and he gives 100% effort all the time. The
Yeah.
problem is he's not 22 years old anymore. And if you talk about a guy visibly tired,
You be like,
like
I'm like, yo, they gonna kill my guy.
so, I mean, like, yo, take him out. He about to pass out. He look, it'll get him an asthma pump or something, yo.
Something, bro. Yeah, I love Taj. I want Taj to retire, Nick. You know what I
I
mean?
I do too,
Especially being
but
from. Yo, funny thing is,
but he
I,
needs to be out. Udonis Haslam, you know what I mean?
I,
He needs to be our last
I,
guy on the bench,
I went to
mentoring.
I went to junior high school with Taj. Didn't realize it
Oh wow.
until like I'm sitting there and he's talking. He's on the Knicks short thing at in between games. Like, yeah, I went to junior high school 117. I'm like, how old is Taj? Taj is a year older than me. Me and this fool went to junior high school together.
That's
Probably walked
crazy.
past him because I was always in trouble doing something stupid. Didn't realize I went to junior high school with Taj Gibson, right across the street from LG Projects. It's real out there, son.
Believe me, I know. I
yeah,
know.
yeah, but I love Taj. I want to retire Nick, but he should not be playing the five as often as he played the five because he's not that. He's not that. Uh, Early in his career, he played the four. He wasn't playing the five. Like, why are we continuously putting him out there to guard guys who got him on at least 4 inches, 3 to 4 inches, 20 pounds, 20 plus pounds, and he's 37,
Eight.
36,
So-
37, like 37, 38. Like, no, bro. Put the young boy in because at the very least he won't get overpowered.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, this has been a great episode, man. I appreciate you
Appreciate you
joining
for
me.
having me. I enjoyed myself, man.
Um,
Uh,
I, I look forward to having you on again, reoccurring, man. This was great. Um, Obviously we probably won't get your co-host for tonight's game, but next time we play Brooklyn, because I think we play them two more times.
yeah.
Next time we play them, we got to set something up in advance. maybe do a crush stream,
Yeah.
and we could
Or
we
we could have you probably show up to one of our shows on
even
Fridays. You know what I mean?
even better. What
Or
time
you could pull up to Knicks Ish tonight. We because I'm doing the post game. If you you
you
said you
do?
want to show
Yeah,
tonight. Yeah,
yeah. We do a post game as well. But I
yeah.
definitely shout you out, and you know what I mean, tell these guys to go check you out as well. What time? What time on Fridays?
Normally we do like 7 to 9, but
Yeah.
like now that we got more freedom, because we used to do it in studio, so that was our designated time at the
Mm,
shout out to Reflex Radio. You feel me? We used to be in studio, so that was our designated time. But now that we're doing it more on StreamYard, we have more flexibility. So
fluctuation. All
yeah,
right. Well,
yeah,
I mean, I definitely I'm at work on Fridays.
yeah.
I usually get home about 10, but you know what I mean. If you ever want to push one back, I definitely love to join you guys.
I bet most
Or we
definitely.
do a special edition one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
We set
yeah,
something up.
definitely. I enjoyed myself here. I appreciate you for having me up. Shout out to everybody in the comments. You know what I mean, Nixa Ish, man, go follow that on everything. You heard?
That's exactly what I was gonna tell you. Let them know where to find you again.
We
And
on everything. Nixa Ish. Uh, with Instagram, you got to put an underscore at the end, but everything else is just straight Nixa Ish.
salute, man. Thank you for joining me.
I
Shout out
appreciate
to the
you.
chat. Appreciate you guys as always. Your blackest time. We out.